Well, we got that roadmap, everybody, and this is nice because we haven't had any real news since the console launch about the roadmap or about what we can expect for the future of New World. So not only did we get the roadmap, there was a ton of stuff in there. Yeah, like a half an hour video worth of stuff, and they didn't even talk about all of the different points on the roadmap. So I watched the whole thing, I took a bunch of notes, and I'm going to give you guys the summary of everything that is really coming that we know about. So let's start with the changes we're going to see in Season 7. Number 1, the Seasonal World 1, PvP. This is, as you guys could guess, a PvP world where PvP will always be on. They did confirm that in the video. On top of it, there's going to be special PvP gear in these worlds that have very unique perks that feel like artifacts, and this gear is going to be dropped on death. Resources to make this gear are going to be dropped on death, but there's also going to be access to gears, types of gear that maybe isn't quite as good, but isn't dropped on death. Needless to say, they said they're going to be playing around with a lot of experimental effects and game modes with these seasonal worlds. These worlds themselves are going to last for just the season, and then they're wiped and we start a new seasonal world. Kind of similar to something like leagues in old school RuneScape. I am very excited with this. Holy crap, this is what people who have been screaming for a PvP world have basically been begging for. A world where you progress through the game, but the point is to progress through PvP, to fight other players, and hopefully get some nice rewards for fighting other players on those seasonal worlds. This is exciting, not only for PvP as well. We'll see what they do with this, but man, it sounds like this is opening up a whole new bottle for New World, and one of the most exciting things about this change for me is that every single season we will get that New World fresh start experience. Maybe not a directly fresh start server, but having the new seasonal server, it gives you that really fun early game experience that honestly New World really excels at. So, very exciting first one. The second one we've got is a new OPR map. They said there are more maps coming as well, but what they've worked on for now, they want us to test for one weekend. They said just one weekend in Season 7. They want us to tell us what we think about it, whether it fills what we've been looking for in an OPR map or not. And then they're going to work on more after that. So yeah, hopefully this new map is amazing. Hopefully it fixes a lot of the issues we have with OPR right now, i.e. terrain being pretty imbalanced and leading to ranged being a more dominant combat type in most areas. Let's see what we get. Moving on to the next bit, we have got mutated expedition upgrades. Now, this is going to be basically just new progression available through these mutations. You'll be able to get materials that allow you to make 725 crafted mats by doing mutations. There's going to be new matchmaking, new rewards, unified mutations as well. So I'm really curious to see if this philosophy is extended past mutations. They did talk a lot about how they want us to be able to progress the way we want, and at endgame, at least right now at endgame, they feel like there aren't a lot of options and we are limited to go doing certain activities. So yeah, let's see what we get here. I think that this is the right mindset. Let's see what the execution is. And then next up, we've got 3 new daily soul trials. They talked about what the trials were. I'm not going to spoil them. They just told the names of who the trials will be. Either way, you'll be able to do them daily, so it's a new kind of a solo activity for people to come back and experience. They talked about some combat changes. The big one they talked about was target lock. They didn't talk much about anything else. They said they're going to be putting blunderbuss damage back to normal, but making it more inaccurate with target lock. I'm curious what this means. Maybe Blunder will get some nasty bloom, who knows? And then we're getting 8 new artifacts. So not only did they tell us what the artifacts were by showing us a video of all of them, they also told us what one of them does. So we get a new rapier, we get a musket, we get a fire staff, a bow, a void gauntlet, a life staff, an ice gauntlet that gives a large amount of regen after exiting Ice Tomb. That was the quote. And then last but not least, we get a new earring. And we did get to see the rapier. Well, we didn't get to see if he was using the new rapier or not, the new artifact one, but he was playing a full grace kit. When they talked about this moment, they were talking about the new artifacts. They showed someone just poking with a grace kit. I couldn't see anything to give me any hint as to what the artifact does, but I hope it's a grace artifact for the rapier. I mean, they've covered the 2 rapier skills that I don't use that much, so any of the other 4 skills I'm happy with. Anyway, that's a personal thing. Moving on, they are also doing some seasonal events and world bosses each season. And there's not really much to add there. Oh man, I am excited. Season 7 looks like it has a lot of stuff that we have been wanting to see. Moving on to the next bit. This is in development, stuff that they are currently working on, but they don't have a timeline past after Season 7, maybe even during Season 7 if they get it done quickly, who knows? So, what do they got here? We've got new seasonal worlds. We talked about that a little bit. Some territory system improvements that they kind of described as giving you better rewards for ranking up your various territory ranks that give you incentives to maybe craft or collect in that area versus going somewhere else. They've got more endgame progression improvements, cross-character progression, including of course the seasonal worlds. Wrap around XP, I'm not sure what that means. And then Umbral's V2, they didn't touch on that either. New PvP game modes, they're exploring stuff like Capture the Flag, Battle Royale, featured game modes for seasonal gameplay with lots of changes made to them. They said they want to play around a lot with these to just see what kind of stuff people like and what kind of cool game modes and changes to PvP and stuff they can give us. There's going to be global storage. They talked just a little bit about it, but that is a massive deal. New mode maps like the new OPR map. Invasions with matchmaking. They are completely re-changing invasions. They want to add more variety and they want it to vary per season as well. The endgame reputation systems, kind of like the territory system, gonna have some revamps to pick up wars. This was a huge one. I have never been in a war because I don't play in a large company and no company would want to take a rando like me. So yeah, this is a huge deal. They talked about giving access to war, giving people the ability to go and do wars between companies that don't have those negative effects like losing your town if you lose the war. So maybe a lower risk war that everyone can play is the idea here. And then there's going to be crafting improvements. They didn't talk a lot at all about this outside of just making crafting a more viable endgame option for getting that endgame gear. But that was kind of the philosophy they talked about a lot through this. Invasion difficulties, they didn't talk a ton about this outside of them wanting to change invasions. Again, we don't have a lot of info. And then the endgame rewards and system improvements. Like we had said earlier, they're looking at a more horizontal progression system where you have different options to get different things and you can get certain rewards from certain areas and different activities in the game. I hope they keep expanding this because right now, again, we have like one or two ways. We have 2 ways to get 725 gear and that's basically it. And then the global storage, of course, we talked about. And last but not least, they're working on a barbershop. That's right, that ugly pink haircut that you had, you might be able to fix now. Or maybe you want to make it an ugly pink haircut. Whatever you're into, really. And finally, they talked about in exploration, which is stuff that they haven't necessarily nailed down that they're going to do, but they're looking at, they're working on. Number 1, they said new weapons, and this one's big for me because I love new weapons. They're huge for adding more variety to combat. They said they have 1 in development, they are prototyping more, and they want to add more frequent weapon releases in the future. Unfortunately, no hints as to what the new weapon will be. I still think it's going to be double pistols. They also talked about zone up-leveling, make less use max level areas like Reekwater, they used as the example, going to a max level zone, and this just gives more content for people to explore for endgame. So this is kind of what we've seen, the gentrification of old zones to make them appropriate for endgame. That being said, they did say that they are also working on adding new zones too, so hopefully we don't just see the old zones remade. And well, the last thing they touched on was the Influence Tower Claim / Siege system with building. What a really nice name. Either way, they explain this as a tower system where you build your defenses and you actually siege enemy defenses. They said a really critical line in here. These systems already exist in the game. If you guys know a little bit about New World's past, it used to be a game where you'd build your own town and you'd have to defend against other people. So they have these systems in the game and they said they want to use them. This is so exciting for me. So exciting for all the different new PvP modes, everything that we could get. But just the building, I mean, we could maybe even be building our own houses or something at some point. Either way, I'm getting way off with this. I'm going too far into it. There's a lot of exciting stuff here. And there's all the other stuff on the in exploration panel here they didn't talk about. We just have what's on the panel. So you guys can guess as well as I can. Either way, yeah, lots of stuff coming. I am very excited for next season. I'm happy that we got this roadmap. I'm sure a lot of people out there were dying to see it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm doing the New World top 5 fights. If you have an awesome fight that you want to see featured in the top 5, you can send that to Kristofer at pvpnewworld.com. And yeah, come catch me on Twitch if you guys want to say hi. Otherwise, have a great night, everybody. And I'll see you next time.